welcome to the Thursday, June 29th, 2023 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. School committees and other public bodies may continue to hold remote meetings through March 31st, 2025, under legislation enacted on March 29th, 2023. The statute, Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, extends quorum reductions for remote meetings. All votes while there is remote participation must be made by roll call vote. This meeting is being recorded and aired live on LCTV. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will begin with correspondence. Turn it over to Mary, our clerk.
An emailed letter from Miss Katie Hastings regarding foreign exchange students.
Thank you. And we also have approval of minutes up next. We have a recommended motion.
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the June 20th, 2023 school committee meeting as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a roll call vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Julie?
Sorry about that. Yes.
No problem. Mary?
Yes.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes, for me as well. All right, moving on to visitor comments. If there are any visitors at home who would like to speak up, you can turn your camera on or raise your hand. All right, seeing no visitor comments, we'll move on to school committee announcements and recognitions. Do any school committee members have announcements or recognitions to share? All right, seeing none, we head into our next things. Business with guests, we have administrative reports. I think none of us have reports, correct? Marty, no report for you?
One quick thing to mention, just received an email yesterday from the Executive Office of Public Safety that Long Meadow was awarded a $43,000 federal grant for school safety to be dedicated towards equipment and technology. So maybe we can give you a full report on that at a future meeting.
Love that. All right.
Exciting news for us.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. No report for me, and we do not have our student representative yet. Reports from LPVC.
I'd like to make the report at the next meeting. There was a meeting on June 21st and I was unexpectedly unable to attend. I went and had to leave early for a family emergency and everything is fine, but so I don't feel like I can make the full report until I get the meeting minutes. So I'll do it next time.
That works. All right, we have no subcommittee reports, and so we head into ongoing business, school committee assignments. In all of the packets, we have been provided with a list of roles, the people who were in those roles last year. We also all have a blank grid to fill in for information on who would like to be in what positions. For the most part, we go through our committee positions, subcommittee positions, and volunteer to take those on. We are required to vote on who the representatives are for the Lower Pioneer Valley Education Collaborative, and you have also in your packet a calendar of the upcoming meetings for the 2023-24 school year. The Board of Governors, that's the corporation position, meets at 6 p.m. and the Board of Directors, the collaborative position, is at 6:30, and we will appoint those representatives by way of a vote. But why don't we start at the beginning and work our way through with finance? Is there anyone who would like to volunteer to be on or continue on the finance subcommittee?
I will continue on.
Love that.
I'm happy to continue on unless somebody else wants to take it. All right. I'm having trouble, Nicole, if you're talking, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I am also breaking out a little bit.
here?
I can hear you now.
Better?
That's better.
Yes,
I can hear you
thank you.
now.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Okay, so since we have two for finance, let's circle back and figure out a third. And let's head into policy. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer to tackle policy subcommittee?
I will.
Michaela? All right. Julie, can you hear me better now?
She's probably just connecting.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay. All right, is there anyone else? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna wait until we have Julie back fully. Just so that we know.
I'm here and I can hear you. Sorry about that.
No worries. Glad you can hear us better now. We're talking about policy subcommittee. We have Michaela right now. Is there anyone else who would like to volunteer for that one?
I'm happy to stay on policy.
Okay. And Mary, did I see your hand go? All right. Evaluation subcommittee. Any volunteers? I'm happy to tackle that one. I haven't done it yet. Maybe one. Anyone else who would like to take evaluation subcommittee? Or join in on that?
I'm more than happy to do that with you. I think I'm already on it, or I was on it.
Perfect. All right. We are headed towards curriculum. Mary, I know I'd love to stay on that one.
I'd like to be on the curriculum subcommittee.
And Michaela? All right. Okay, let's see. School building committee. I know that we've had Julie and I taking that. I think I didn't know if we needed to actually change that. Is that one that we have to do each year? Reaffirm that people would like to continue on, and if anybody would like up.
We have to file with the MSBA.
Perfect, if we change people on it. All right, Julie, are you still good to stay on that?
Yep, I can stay.
All right, and I would be happy to stay as well, so we'll keep that as it is, and then don't have to do paperwork for that one. All right, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Council. Is that one an ad hoc one?
I'd say we would resurrect it. I anticipate that Nicole Irizarry, as our Director of Student and Family Support, would head that up. And so she'll be joining us on July 3rd. So I would anticipate that we will keep that active.
Okay,
And yeah.
let's go ahead and do an advisory council for that. Then we also have a new
One
representative. We just need one person.
one person would
Okay,
be.
is there anyone who would very much like to tackle that?
And not required if it, doesn't match everyone's schedule. It would be okay if we don't
All
get
right.
representation.
Anyone who would like to do the diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Exactly.
Okay, that's right. Not 100% sure. Go ahead, Julie.
I was just going to say if Zach doesn't want to do it.
Okay. All right, so we'll pencil in Zach, and if he's able to get here and let us know, then we'll go there. And if not, then I'll turn it over to Julie. All right, negotiations subcommittee. Anyone who would like to take that one? I know.
Anticipate that
It
will
might be
be
a-
sort of ad hoc.
Yeah,
It may
smaller
not,
committee
it
this
may
year.
not even be needed, since
happy
we
to
have settled
continue on
contracts.
that.
Yeah.
Mary's happy to continue on that. And we'd need one third person if it does need to meet. All right, we'll circle back to that one. Task ceiling task force is not
I'd say
actually
it's,
active right now,
It's
correct?
not active,
Okay.
yeah.
Warrants, we already have Jamie for warrants and payroll, and I'm alternate.
Yep.
All right, now LPVC. I feel like I remember Zach saying last week that he had an interest in one of those. The corporation? Do you remember? He's on the corporation, that's what I'm thinking. Okay,
I would like to continue to serve on the collaborative side.
Okay.
If Zach really wanted to swap, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
I'm excited to work with our new director. And so if that's okay with everyone, I would like to stay on.
is there anyone else who was really hoping to jump in there? All right, well, let's plan, we'll keep Zach and Mary as they are, and if Zach would prefer to try out the other side when he's here, we can
That
talk
does
about
require a vote,
trading.
though.
Okay, let's push that a little further in case Zach is just running late. we'll circle back to that one. Okay, wellness policy review is not currently active, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Energy and sustainability, we do need a new person for energy and sustainability. Adam? All right, there we go. I'll be happy for that. SEAL, Special Education Alliance of Long Meadow. I would like to take that.
I would like to do that one, please.
All right, Michaela. Wonderful. All right, so places that we still need folks. We need a third person for negotiations. We need a third person for evaluation, and we need a third person for finance. Is there anyone who only has one or two that might like to jump in and pick one while the picking is still out there?
I could do evaluation, I think.
Okay, nice.
I mean, my wife doesn't really trust me with money, but I can do.
Okay. What was the third? What are you going to? Oh, negotiations.
Negotiations.
I lose all of them.
What is that?
Okay. Zach might want negotiations. Okay. All right. So Adam for finance, and we'll put Zach in for negotiations. School assignments. So we have 6 schools, and folks can volunteer to be the representative for any one of the ones they see. If there's anyone who would really like to be a representative for one, now would be an excellent time to raise your hand or call out. If there's one that you'd really like.
I will take center school if that works.
All right.
And then I'd like to stay at Williams.
Williams. Others? Michaela or Julie? Adam?
Oh, sorry. I'll take Wolf Swamp.
Wolf Swamp is.
I would do the high school.
All right. And Adam, you good with Glenbrook then?
Oh, sure, I was gonna say, I don't wanna take Blueberry from Zach, because he's not here to.
Oh, you can do either one. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, he was there, I don't know, I don't know, I usually operate by the DIB system.
All right, so we'll say Glenbrook for you unless Zach is like, nah, I don't have a preference, and then we'll trade you. All right, sound good. I heard a door, but I don't think it was that door. Okay, and Zach in negotiations, I think that's everything with the exception of LPVC. I'm gonna put a pin in that and circle back to them after the next agenda item. Is that all right? Okay, perfect. Just so that we have the opportunity to get Zach if he's able to be here, and otherwise we'll assume that he's good continuing on with what he has. All right, so we're gonna return to our ongoing business with school committee appointments. We're gonna duck ahead to new business on the assistant superintendent for learning.
Okay.
Dr. O'Shea, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you. So this agenda item is necessary given the announced retirement of Sue Bertrand as our assistant superintendent for learning. Sue's been with the district over 20 years, in public education over 30, and so she's looking forward to a well-deserved and hopefully long and healthy retirement. Her retirement date is in early October, and so with Sue's retirement, it caused us to sort of rethink central office leadership. And this is a quick little snapshot of where things currently stand, where we have an assistant superintendent for learning in Sue Bertrand, our recently appointed director of special education, Nicole Paris-Grow, and Nilda Irizarry, director of student and family support. She'll start with this on July 3rd. So with Sue's retirement, it was an opportunity for us to make sure that there was some sort of logic and coherence to the central office leadership. What's not depicted on here is the assistant superintendent for finance and operations, Tom Mazza's position. That's sort of unaffected by this proposal before you tonight. And so it's worth noting to members of the community at home and perhaps new members of the committee that the assistant superintendent positions are appointed by the school committee, and a director of special education is also appointed by the school committee, and both those positions are appointed by the school committee upon recommendation of the superintendent. As I began to think about, the opportunity in front of us with the retirement of Sue, it made me think about the sort of arrangement between these three offices at the central office, the curriculum office, the Director of Student and Family Support office, and the Special Education office. And it seemed to me to make sense for us to bring those three offices on par. So if this were an organizational chart, they would be on the same tier if we were to move forward with this arrangement, where if we were to create a Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment alongside a Director of Special Education and a Director of Student and Family Support. These are not arranged in any hierarchical way. This is just a graphic just to show the three offices outside of the office that is run by Tom Mazza as our finance and operations person. And so, part of the reason to go back to the creation of the Director of Student and Family Support position, this was created really as a reflection of the increased demands on school districts to support the overall well-being of children, to support their social emotional health, the mental health, the behavioral health, to advance DEI initiatives, and to ensure that we are supporting students and families in need of stabilization and specific supports. And so if we were to give you an overview of the three offices and the associated responsibilities, and for our committee members at home, I did put a copy of this in the meeting packet as well, if it's not large enough for you to see on your screen. And you'll see that many of the responsibilities of the Director of Special Education position, which had formerly been a larger pupil service role, and many of the responsibilities of the curriculum position have been taken on by the Director of Student and Family Support. And so that what was an assistant superintendency overseeing curriculum, the proposal is for that to be a Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And the reason that I would propose that it be a director position as opposed to an assistant superintendent position are many. One is that this is more of a strategically focused position that is more narrowly focused on curriculum instruction and assessment. It almost brings the position back to where it was probably 15 years ago before the advent of new expectations relating to social emotional learning, student behavioral health, student mental well-being. And so because this arrangement would not include an assistant superintendency, and talking with Nicole, felt it was important to bring it to the committee to make sure that the committee had a full understanding of what this arrangement would look like, and to make sure that the committee had a full opportunity to continue on with the assistant superintendency if that is a direction that you wanted to go. If you wanted to maintain that top bubble as an assistant superintendency, you certainly could do that. My recommendation would be to initiate this as a director position. It puts the three offices on, like I said, on equal par on that organizational chart. It's also a reflection of the fact that as we seek to hire this position, it's likely that we'll get someone that is new to central. It's possible that we'll get someone who's new to central office leadership. And with that, it would probably wouldn't be in a position where I would be bringing a name to you to recommend as an assistant superintendent. In my view, to be an assistant superintendent, you really need to have several years under your belt in the district. You need to have maybe a long established relationship with the school committee. You need to be to be more widely known across the district and have, it's a position that you should earn, in my view, over many years, as opposed to being a position that's just bestowed on somebody who might be new, potentially new to central office leadership. And so it would be my recommendation that we transition that assistant superintendency to a director of curriculum instruction and assessment. It's a reflection of the more narrow scope of responsibilities associated with curriculum leadership. It's a reflection of the fact that we've also added that director of student and family support position to the central office. So we've expanded capacity in that way. And at this point, it seems to me that it wouldn't be necessary to have this remain elevated as an assistant superintendency. So that's for your consideration. Certainly, if you wanted to continue on with the curriculum position, being an assistant superintendency, it is something that certainly is within the purview of the committee. And happy to talk this through a little bit further, but you can see that, many of these responsibilities are ones that have grown over the years. As we've said many times over the last year, more and more is expected of educators, more and more is expected of administrators. And this is, I think, a reflection of the strategic direction of the district. I also think it's reflective of the staffing arrangements that we have at the classroom level and at the school level. So for your consideration tonight.
All right, before I open to discussion, I'm just going to note that because heretofore the school committee has retained the hiring power, negotiating power with assistant superintendent, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to discuss this, and also want to note that it's not a decision that we need to make on a permanent basis. So we don't have to cede our ability to hire an assistant superintendent or our ability to negotiate with future assistant superintendents. We are also able to make a decision that is for this year, to have no assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, and to allow this position to begin. So those are a few of the options. I would recommend that we not make a decision to move away from our ability to retain negotiations on an assistant superintendent position. If we decide that we are comfortable with the inclusion of a director of curriculum instruction and assessment, then my recommendation would be that we move that we not fill the position for this year only, if that makes sense. So let's open to discussion.
Nicole, I'm sorry, could you just repeat the last part about you said about not?
Yeah, I just think it's important to know that deciding that we are interested in going the way of hiring a director of curriculum and instruction does not need to mean that we are saying we no longer retain the authority to negotiate and hire an assistant superintendent position. It could be that we vote that for this year, we will not hire an assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction, for this year after October 9th. I'm making that date up. When Sue retires, which is the beginning of October, that we would not fill it for that year. And then the position is still there. If we are at some point in the future ready to hire an assistant superintendent, we continue to retain the authority to, as a school committee, to negotiate and hire for that position. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And then is the director of curriculum, is that a 1 year? Is it a 1 year contract?
That's a good question. I don't actually know. Are the director positions 1 year contracts, or do we do multi-year contracts?
My proposal would be to offer a 3-year contract to the director of curriculum instruction and assessment. Certainly if, say this time next year, if the committee wanted to move in the direction of an assistant superintendency, then that's, certainly a contract that could be, the position could be elevated to an assistant superintendency if that's the question.
Okay.
It could be elevated. Sorry, Marty. It could be elevated, but we couldn't necessarily, if we were retaining that person and then hiring an assistant superintendent, we'd have to find other things for that person to do, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
If we're not, okay.
We'd have to discontinue, if you were to you'd have to discontinue the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment position, or perhaps, yeah,
Or
Okay.
reorganize.
Thanks.
or reorganize in some other way, yeah.
Questions that others might have and or discussion? Michaela or Jamie?
No, I don't have any questions, and I think it's great to have somebody. I like the idea of hiring somebody who is fresh with curriculum, and I understand from what Marty is saying that might not happen if we're hiring an assistant superintendent right now.
Okay. Any thoughts, Jamie?
All set. I am good with what was just discussed.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. It does, the positions kind of at central office have all shifted a little bit with retirements and new hires over the last couple of years. So the idea of organizing them into specific categories, a director of student and family support, a director of special education, and a director of curriculum instruction and assessment makes sense as well. So if we don't have any further discussion, we do have a possible motion related to not filling the assistant superintendent of learning position. If anyone would like to make that, I think since that's a position that we typically hire, it would be good to vote on if we are going to not hire for that position for the remainder of the 2023-24 school year. And those at home should have that in front of them as a packet. All right, seeing no motion, we can just continue on. Although I think I would like to see I think it's important if we're not going to hire for assistant superintendent for learning, that we might want to consider making that an official decision. Anyone at home have any thoughts on that?
I think that makes sense.
Okay. Do you see a possible motion that might be?
Yes, I just don't have the language of it in front, like at the tip of my tongue.
No worries. Just that we not fill the assistant superintendent for learning position after the retirement.
Okay, so I move that we not fill the assistant superintendent position upon the retirement of Sue Bertrand in October.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Michaela. I would like to just do an addendum that would be for the 2023-24 school year. Remind me when we add on to a motion again, do I take a vote on the amendment first?
To amend the motion first.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, it's been a while since we've had that. Any objections to that amendment? Does that make sense just for this year, for the 2023-24 school year? So I will move that we amend the motion to include the language for the 2023-24, or the remainder of the 2023-24 school year. And there is a motion, and I need a second.
I second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on the amendment first. So that would make the official motion read, sorry.
That the school committee not fill the assistant superintendent for learning position after the retirement of the current assistant superintendent for learning for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year.
Okay, and that leaves it open for discussion for next year, if that becomes something we would like to discuss again. All right, we'll do a roll call on the amendment. That is all we are voting on now, on the amended language for the vote, or for the original motion. Michaela?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mary?
I recuse myself from this vote.
Thank you. Adam?
Abstention.
Thank you. And yes for me as well. All right, now we move on to the actual motion.
that the school committee not fill the assistant superintendent for learning position after retirement of Sue Bertrand. And any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, we'll head into a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie? Oh, we lost Jamie for a minute.
Yes.
Okay, we'll circle back. Maybe you lost contact. Mary?
I recuse myself from this vote.
Adam?
Abstention.
Thank you. Yes for me. And do we have Jamie back? You might have to have him be.
Let's see.
Oh, no.
Let me shoot him a text.
The internet has not been our friend tonight.
No.
At least everybody can hear us now.
Motion passed.
Okay, so we can move on.
Yes.
Okay,
Doesn't need
okay.
just a majority of the.
People here.
Okay.
I written into minutes that
Okay.
Jamie left.
We, before we head into, we have an executive session as well, but before we head into that, I'm gonna circle back since Zach is not here. I just wanna touch back on school committee assignments. We have two folks who are gonna be doing our Lower Pioneer Valley Education Collaborative, the corporation and the collaborative board of directors. I think we landed right now with Zach continuing on in the corporation role, Mary taking on the collaborative role. And we have possible motions for those as well.
I move that the school committee appoints,
Yep, Zach.
Zach Barrington, to be the school committee representative to the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative Board of Governors Corporation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes for me as well. We have another one related to the collaborative position.
I move that the school committee appoints Mary Keene, yes, Mary Keene, of course, to be the school committee representative to the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative Board of Directors, in the collaborative sense.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mary?
Abstain.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes, for me as well. All right, we have one other motion related to some negotiations. Mary, can you tackle that one for executive session?
I move that the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation with non-union personnel, the superintendent and director of special education, and Purpose 7, consideration of release of executive session minutes of previous meetings to reconvene into open session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. We have any discussion related to that? We'll move to a roll call vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes for me as well. All right, we are in open session. We will reconvene, or we are in executive session rather. We will reconvene into open session as soon as possible.
Okay.
Welcome back to the June 29th, 2023 school committee meeting. We are reconvened back into open session and we have new business. There is a possible motion related to the superintendent's contract.
I move that the school committee approve the contract amendment dated June 29th, 2023 to the superintendent's 2022 to 2025 contract as presented and authorized and unauthorized the school committee chair to sign.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Michaela. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Michaela?
yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Mary? Adam?
Yay.
And yes for me as well. We have a second possible motion related to the Director of Pupil Services contract.
I move that the school committee approve the contract amendment dated June 29th, 2023 to the Director of Special Education contract as presented and authorized the school committee chair to sign.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes for me as well. All right, thank you. We have one final motion in front of us tonight.
I move on that the school committee adjourn the June 29th, 2023 school committee meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Adam?
Yay.
And yes for me as well. Thank you very much, and we will see you again in July. Have a lovely evening. I forget what our July date is now.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Thank you.
18th.
Bye.